All right, so in this video, we're going to take a look at the world's best websites. No, just kidding. The world's worst websites. We're going to look at some websites that have some issues, and then kind of point out some things that you might want to avoid in your own website. So this one was purposely designed to show you a lot of things that you should not do. So what are they? If I turn on the audio here for a second. Oh, yeah. This website has some pretty annoying audio as a background audio. Audio can be problematic for a couple of reasons. The file size can be pretty big, which would slow down your website. The other thing is people's taste in music are varied. So how are you going to pick something that everybody likes? Probably not. People might be at work. They might not want to hear audio from their websites. I know that happens sometimes. Exceptions, there are exceptions. Maybe you have a website for a band or a movie and you want to play music from the band or from the movie. That might make sense. But generally, you might want to avoid audio. You might see it in some introductory type of animation sometimes, but yeah, just watch out for that. Another thing, second thing on this one, no color scheme. What is the color scheme? Which is a color plan, right? There really isn't one. There's just kind of every color in the rainbow. There's no plan to it at all. It's just pick a color. And their colors are pretty saturated and bright and maybe a little bit hard on the eyes. So yeah, so you should have some sort of plan for your color. You'll see other information about color throughout the course and in your readings and things. There are various ways to pick colors. There's lots of online color pickers or color scheme pickers. And I probably have links for you for you on the website. There's color theory, which we'll probably look at, or you can look at. There's Adobe Color CC, which lets you plan or create color schemes. So there's really not a good reason to have a poor color scheme, even if you think like you're color challenged or anything. There are some systems and some ideas that can help you with that if you have trouble with color. Some people do, some people think they do, some people don't, I guess. But too much animation. So you have a lot of moving things on the page here. So let's see, this is moving, that's blinking, this is moving, that's moving, the background is moving. That's particularly bad. That's a different category, distracting background images. You probably don't want a background image that's animated too often. You see how it kind of distracts from that text, makes it harder to read and kind of chaotic. Animation, what can animation be used for? Animation is usually used to kind of attract attention, right? But if you have multiple things animating at once, I guess there's at least 4 or 5 on this screen right now, then what are you telling the user to look at? They can't look at everything, right? They're not like iguanas or anything, or flies with multiple eyes. They can't look at everything. So try to use animation to guide the user's eyes if necessary, or if that's your goal. It can actually backfire a little bit too. So people have become accustomed to advertising that has animation in it. So you may actually repel people's eyes with the animation if you're not careful, because people assume that, oh, if something's moving off on the right side of my page, it's probably an ad and I don't want to look at an ad, so I'm not going to look at it. So yeah, be judicious with the animation. We're going to do animation in the class. It could be useful and great, but just don't overdo it. Also in these animations, they're kind of all random styles and obviously are kind of collected from different places, so it's kind of gratuitous, too much animation there. Distracting background images, we kind of talked about that with this background. This is another site, I think right here, has some background. It's not terrible, but people have kind of moved away, or designers have kind of moved away from these strong background images. You can also see there's a background image up here in the upper left behind text, which can be problematic as far as reading text. So be very careful with putting background images behind text. And you also have another thing, overlapping text here, which is probably not a great idea, right? Why would you want to overlap text? It just makes it harder to read, so you want to watch out for that. You also want to watch out for low contrast text. Here's an ad with white text on a light blue background. That's kind of a very common but problem that you'll see is that not enough contrast, basically. So you want to have enough contrast between your type color, your body copy color, and your background all the time. black on white and white on black are the most contrast, but you don't have to use white and black. But just make sure there's enough contrast. If you can squint a little bit and the text kind of disappears, that's a bad sign. So watch out for that as well. Center aligned text. So there's a lot of center aligned text on this page. What is the problem with center aligned text? Well, it creates this ragged left margin. It's called a ragged margin. So that makes the eye, when it gets to a line, it has to look for a different place to start again on each line. It's not a huge deal, but it is a usability and readability downgrade, if you want to think of it that way. So unless you have a good reason, don't use the left aligned text or a center aligned text or right aligned text for the same reason. You're going to get this ragged left margin. Left aligned text is generally the best way to go unless you have a good reason not to use it, especially not for large amounts of text. This one also has another one of the problems that you'll see on websites is misspelled words, improper punctuation, bad grammar. Nothing is going to make your website or your company look worse as fast as just not being able to spell words correctly or use proper grammar. I know that stuff is hard. I'm a poor speller myself sometimes, or I have bad grammar, bad grammaticals. Right there, I just did it right there. But one thing you can do is put your body copy into Word and just check it there. And Word will help you find at least most misspelled words, unless it's autocorrecting. Autocorrecting can be a problem. Everybody knows that, right? Where it autocorrects your typing to the wrong word. So you have to have somebody look at, you need to look at your copy, and someone else does too. Make sure someone else looks at your pages, because they will spot problems that you didn't spot just because you didn't spot them. So get more eyes on things, and that will help solve that problem a lot of times. Missing images. So this is obvious, right? But you'll see if your paths are wrong when we start doing images, or maybe we've done them already, but when your paths are wrong, you'll get this broken image icon. That's a big no-no, obviously. So you don't want that to happen. And that is just some of your code is wrong, where the path is wrong to the image, or the image is missing, or the name is wrong, or something like that. So watch out for that. Another thing I have is bad image optimization, which this page does not have, I don't think, but you will notice it when you go to a website and images kind of roll in very slowly instead of appearing quickly. Why is that? That's because someone didn't optimize the image, meaning they didn't make it as small as possible, file size wise. So your job as a designer or production artist or something like that is to take an image, make it as small as you can make it as far as file size goes, but it still should look good. So that's the job, is balancing file size and the look of the image. So yeah, watch out for that. You'll see people just throw up a full-sized DSLR image on a website, and it'll be 5 megs or 10 megs, and they'll wonder why their web page is slow, or people don't look at the images because they're too big, right? So watch out for that. There's lots of other things I think I have a link to this page. Hopefully it'll still be there when you look for it, but lots of other things on this page that are pointed out, things like frames, which aren't really used that much anymore, but those kinds of things. These are some sites that I don't think are supposed to be bad. This one is supposed to be bad, but I don't think these are. So this is, and I probably have links to this, and hopefully it'll still be there, or maybe they'll fix it, but or maybe they don't think it's broken. But this is like an e-commerce site that basically has no layout to it. It's just kind of random items on a page, not really organized at all. Everything is different sizes. There's no organized grid or layout. It also has one thing you need to watch out for, which is side scrolling. So this page goes on and on and on sideways. What is wrong with side scrolling? Well, most people are not used to doing it. Most mice have scroll bars that scroll vertically, not horizontally. Some do, but not very many. And then just another thing, it's not conventional, right? People aren't used to scrolling sideways to see things. So unless you notice that scroll bar, you may never even see all this stuff over here. So not that it's illegal or anything, but just watch out for that kind of thing. Another problem that this page has is there's no white space, no negative space or empty space. Your pages, your designs need some empty space for your eye to rest and to separate content. Everything just kind of runs together in this solid block, which is usually not great. So make sure you have enough breathing room for things on your page. Kind of a chaotic layout, right? Here's another site. It's got some issues probably. We talked about the overlapping text and the background images underneath. This animation here, buy now, and it looks like a credit card. Am I supposed to click on that because I want to buy something? It's not clickable. You don't want to trick your user. It's not a game, right? If you make it hard for people to buy things on an e-commerce site, they're not going to buy them, probably. They're not in, most people aren't into that. Maybe somebody will. Look, it follows the page too. But it doesn't do anything, it just moves across. Other issues on this page, you've got this maybe some information architecture or organizational problems. You've got, I don't know how many links that is, 30, 40, I don't know. But you can see this navigation bar goes all like multiple pages of navigation, or probably 2 screenfuls of this navigation bar. The upside of that is you can get to things quicker. It makes the organization kind of flat, meaning you can click once and get to a lot of different things. The downside is I have to look through all these links maybe to find out what I'm looking for. This kind of navigation where you have a kind of a flat organization, lots of links on the first page, for example, is sometimes okay for sites that people are used to using. Maybe you're a plumber or you do gates, I guess. And you use this site every day and you know exactly where every link is. So you don't have to read through all of them. Maybe that would be okay. But generally you want to give people a limited amount of choices because it can get overwhelming, right? Where I have to look through all these different links here. Another issue on this page is there's some background color on some of the text containers, which is probably was necessary because they had this background image that we talked about before. If you had this background image behind this text, it would make the text harder to read. So there's background color they added, which probably was necessary. But once you add background color, now you've got this background color that ends at the very edge of the text. And that's probably not great. You want to give text, let me zoom in here a little bit. You want to give your text room to breathe. So if you're up against a border or a background color like this, you want to use a little bit of padding or space inside the container so that the text has some breathing room, margin, basically. You're never going to see a nice, printed layout where the text goes right up to the edge of something and it's cramped up against the corner, or the edge there. So just watch out for that. Not a big deal. Padding we'll get to very soon if we haven't already in the class, and you'll see how to do that. Here's another one. Not supposed to be a joke, but I think it's sort of tongue-in-cheek a little bit. It says up here, this is called super video. It says where valuable information, I lost it here. Where valuable information is dumped on you free without charge. Thanks. It's dumped. It literally is dumped. That's kind of the look of this site. So if I go down the page, there's no navigation because I think everything is on the same page. This does kind of look like navigation, these houses lined up, but they're not. They don't go anywhere. So that's a little misleading. That might not be great either. But it's just kind of large images kind of dumped in the middle of the page. Really huge text. I'm not sure who would need text that large. That is huge. Yeah, so just kind of taking up space, right? Everything is centered. Large images. Image quality is not that great. That's not a great image. Almost all of you could probably fix that in Photoshop or in something and make that look better. It's just kind of washed out and bad color and things like that. That looks good though. Now I'm hungry. But yeah, so large images kind of dumped in the middle. This one's kind of blurry, low, yeah, not great stuff. Again, more large text. No color scheme really, right? You got bright orange, bright red, bright green, bright blue, yellow on a textured background. We talked about how you want to avoid text over a textured background or a background image like that. Everything is centered. I think there's, yeah, all the text is centered. This is a little personal issue I have with links. I don't really like links that, and this is just me maybe, but links that resize when you roll over them because it kind of moves everything. It just kind of jiggles around. I guess it kind of moves everything else. Like if I roll over this, it moves the rest of these. I don't know. I don't think it's great. And you don't see people doing it too much probably for that reason, but yeah, and it goes on forever and ever. So everything is kind of dumped on one page, literally. Here's some more centered text. We talked about that maybe not being a great idea. And then why have all this? This is empty, right? Why have this little narrow centered text column and then all this dead space? It doesn't feel as dead because they put this background image in there, but imagine if that was white. I said white space is good, but up to a point. And then what's this about, the side scrolling here? I didn't even notice that before. So anyway, more random kind of borders and random animations and things. Some of them are kind of fun, I guess, but they're not that great. And Princess Diana. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that was just a few things to maybe avoid and in your own work. I also probably have links on the page, on the class webpage about different articles about things to avoid. You can actually learn a lot from looking at bad design and seeing what to avoid and applying that to your designs in the future. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will talk to you again next time.